Right. Well, good morning. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Tanya Sam, and I'm the Director of Operations and Partnerships at Tech Square Labs. Tech Square Labs is an innovation hub, a co-working hub. We are a seed and portfolio incubator located right in the heart of Midtown Atlanta. We are founded on the mission of building something from nothing. So picture two entrepreneurs, two founders, two gentlemen from Morehouse and a laptop, helping them to build scalable technology companies. We are so proud to be here today partnering with JPMorgan Chase as well as Morehouse Campus to officially launch the Ascend 2.0 program. We started Ascend 2020 2 years ago, and I'm tremendously excited to announce to you that we have now matriculated over 60 minority entrepreneurs. Through two of our cohorts, one of which is on the panel today, so we will hear from her. Our focus in the first two cohorts was on specifically startup and technology companies that were early stage and how we could help to create successful, scalable technology companies here in Atlanta, on the south side, throughout Morehouse and the greater community. Now for Ascend 2.0, we are happy to announce that we have increased our reach and expansion so that we can help more successful entrepreneurs build scalable companies here in Atlanta. Our goal at the end is to create more wealth, more legacy in the Black community, and create jobs, access to capital, and markets. So for to increase our impact in these areas of revenue generation, jobs, and capital raise, we are pleased to announce the launch of Ascend 2.0. We will now target a more diverse and larger portfolio of minority firms and companies. This expansion will include 3 tracks. The first are community-based micro businesses on the south side of Atlanta, right in our neighborhoods here. Secondly, early to growth stage technology startups. So we're still keeping our hold on our early stage companies. And the third is small to mid-sized minority firms that can support the supply chain of Fortune 500 and 1,000 companies here in Atlanta that makes this city so incredibly powerful in the business world. In total, we will support over 25 to 30, depending on our recruitment process, companies over the next year. This expansion is incredibly exciting for us, and I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to talk to some of our partners today so we can talk about how we're going to make this successful, how we can provide business success to you. And let's start right now with Tiffany, because we are in your house, Morehouse. Dr. Tiffany Bussey, can you tell us about how Morehouse will continue to provide support for some of our companies as we move forward?
Sure, thank you so much. I'm so pleased in terms of where we're at. In 2017, as I mentioned, when we first met with the University of Washington and kind of brainstormed this whole idea for Ascend 2020 of higher education partnering with community partners to really help businesses grow. Out of research, we know that our thesis is that it takes 3 things to help businesses grow. And we called it our 3M model, which is basically management training, access to markets, and access to money. Morehouse, as the higher educational institution, plays the role primarily of providing that management training. And then we have wonderful partners that has joined us in this particular program to bring the other 2 M's, if you will. But together we collaborate to make this work. So we have been very, very excited to be partnered with Tech Square Labs, Village Microphone, in our first 2 years. And as you said, we touched, actually that was actually 60 for tech startups, and then we had another 20 of so it was 80 companies in the 2 years that we actually touched there. But a little bit about Morehouse Entrepreneurship Center and the other side of what, outside of Ascend 2020. We're 17 years old. We've been doing technology assistance and technical assistance with helping small businesses grow, not only on our campus, as President Thomas said, with our student activities, but reaching out beyond. Joining us in our audience is one of our, what we call our protege companies, IT consulting firms, ProSource 360, where they are what we call emerging companies, 5 to 10 million in revenue, over 50 employees. And this is the new sector that will now be joining Ascend 2020. So I'm very pleased that we are expanding our portfolio and looking forward to working with all the partners here and doing exactly that in Georgia.
Excellent, thank you, Tiffany. Dante, we'll kick it off to you. So can you tell us a little bit more about Village Microfund, what you guys have been doing in the community, and how your involvement moving forward with Ascend 2.0 looks like?
Absolutely. So as you just said, I run Village Microfund. We're a social impact fund that sits on the west side of Atlanta, and we invest in, educate, and curate a community of entrepreneurs. So what that actually looks like in practice is we have a 15-week course that we do at Morehouse, and as you go through the course, we kind of address holistically all sides of the entrepreneur. So we take you through business model, founders therapy, how to talk to investors, how to get a exec together. And then once you're finished with our program, you are eligible for a loan, essentially a community-raised loan. So the idea is we want a community to be able to actually invest in the businesses that they see in their neighborhood. And one of the businesses that we actually funded is here in the crowd today. Well, actually, a few of them. But the idea is that you get a bunch of people in a room, you raise a loan, we give the loan to the entrepreneur, and as the entrepreneur pays the loan back, we pay our investors back. So really creating a full circle. And we do a lot of just work with cooperatives and what it actually looks like to cooperatively invest in our community. So of course it fits very well just in the Morehouse model, and we were very lucky to be a part of this entire Ascend program. And how we move this going forward is just lending each other resources and network, and we touch, I feel like individually we all have our silos, but as a collective we get a lot covered, so we touch a lot.
That's great, thank you, and I appreciate the collective, because when I look into the audience, like, this is a collective. You guys have all shown up, you were here, and that means a lot to us all. I'm gonna skip over Doll, we'll come back to you, but Cicely, it's so nice to have you here. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your organization? Very happy to have you as a partner, and it's gonna be exciting moving forward with you.
Thank you. So Atlanta Wealth Building Initiative is the newest partner joining in the second version of this. We're excited to be on board. We are an intermediary that's working with a community of practice around closing the racial wealth gap. And so I would say our role in this cohort for the second phase is, Dante and others have spent a lot of time sort of preparing people for the journey. So they pack the car, they got all the things needed, they're gassed up, and we're sort of building a pathway that will lead to a destination that is appropriate, where they can grow and have access to new markets and capital and the investments they need to help their businesses really grow and flourish, and to build some generational wealth.
Thank you very much. Access to capital, this is a renowned theme. Can you tell us a little bit about how your initiative will pair in with what we've heard here too as well?
Absolutely, and really proud to be a part of this initiative. My name is Ray Benny. I'm President of Business Development for Access to Capital for Entrepreneurship, and ACE, as we're known. This is on. There we go. Sorry about that. And so ACE is a community development financial institution known as a CDFI. That's a nonprofit that lends money to startup and existing businesses. So we're the money, or the M, to the equation for this collaborative. ACE has experienced been in this space for 19 years, with its humble beginnings starting in North Georgia, with a $50,000 loan fund that's now 19 years later has deployed over $60 million in capital, has created or sustained 7,700 jobs or more, and has touched over 900 businesses as we have progressed. And one thing I wanted to lift up, our secret sauce has been always looking, again, holistically at the client, from the capital piece, of course, from the coaching component, and then connecting those clients to resources as well. So we think that's an important piece. And then real specifically, I want to talk about the work that we're doing in Atlanta. Of the $11 million that we lent in Atlanta last year, 89% of that was in the Atlanta metro area. But more importantly, for small businesses of color, we did a deep dive earlier this spring and sort of looking at the timeline of being real intentional about working in this space. And looking at those numbers, in 2012, we did 16 loans for a little over $700,000 that we lent out. And as we fast forwarded to 2018, we did 88 loans for $5.3 million to African American small business owners. And that's that's really to the great work, the vision of our leader, Grace Fricks. It's to the great work of both our business advisory and our lending teams that I oversee. And it's just about being real intentional and wanting to focus and do what needs doing to close that racial wealth gap.
Oh, and I think that's a great point, because that narrative of there is no capital in Atlanta, or it's even harder for people of color, women, minorities to access capital, is a major hurdle in continuing to build these successful companies. And this is very intentional about how we paired this team to work forward to basically jump those hurdles and help be more successful. I'm going to come back to Doll. Doll was in cohort 1, I believe. Yeah, time flies. Doll was in cohort 1. She is, we have so many success stories, and many of you are in the audience today, but Doll, please tell us a little bit about your journey through Ascend and what you're doing in the company that you are building right now.
Sure, Tanya. Hi guys. So I'm the poster child today. I was actually born and raised here in Atlanta. I'm a native. You don't meet us often, so welcome to Atlanta. And I was indeed in the first cohort of Ascend 2020. So when I joined the program, that was September of 2017. And earlier that year, or I guess maybe a year and a half prior, Flint, Michigan, the contaminated water crisis hit the headlines. I'll tell the story because it kind of builds. So when that happened, most of us were probably really shocked. How's this happening in the United States of America? Why don't we have clean water? I'm a graduate of Harvard University, so I went back to Harvard, to the School of Public Health, to try to understand what was happening. Discovered there are actually 3,000 locations in the United States with more lead in their water than Flint, Michigan. And so, everyone was really upset. They're upset with the governor. I have a micromaster's in data science. So everyone was upset and seeing it as a political issue. But I saw it as a data issue. The people that needed the data didn't have access to it. So, light bulb moment, why isn't there an app for that? So I spent about a year and a half kind of aggregating water quality data, creating a database to make it really simple to find out what's in your water by zip code. And when I came into the program here, I had a database. And I said, hey, we're going to build an app, and this is going to work. That's what I had. After going through the program, we did get access to capital, pitched in front of a lot of investors and all that great stuff, but not just financial capital, social capital. Being in a cohort with other entrepreneurs who were going through some of the same things that we were as a startup, having somebody's shoulders to cry on and all that kind of stuff was really important. And the intellectual capital, really being exposed to folks who had done this before. Great entrepreneurs like Paul Judge and some of the other folks who are willing to sit down with us, and you give them your pitch and they rip it apart and put it back together. So now, fast forward, I've spoken on stages all around the world. I'll be in Israel in 2 weeks. I'll be in Barcelona, Spain, speaking on issues of water, wellness, and sustainability. South Africa, London, I've done a TED Talk. We've been featured by Google for building the world's largest water database, featured on the homepage of Google. Featured by Forbes, Wired Magazine, Coca-Cola, and now creating partnerships that will give us a national footprint and a whole lot of money as well with these contracts with the largest faucet manufacturer in North America, some huge beverage companies as well, are partners now. And really, the launching pad for that was this program. So I can't say enough about Ascend 2020.
Thank you. Congratulations. Nice follow her, because she's doing some amazing things and kind of saving lives while you do it, so we appreciate that. So we've talked about the 3 types of companies that we're really going after: micro businesses, technology companies, and the small to mid-sized minority-owned businesses. I want to delve more into what that is. Doll, you're a perfect example of something that is a technology-enabled company. Maybe, Dante, you could tell us a little bit more about the micro businesses and the community businesses that you've seen and helped in the Southeast area.
Yeah, so we work with a very diverse group of businesses, and actually appreciate that when we do have our cohorts, that we do have everyone from, I have this thing that people pay me for, but I don't know how to run a business, to, I've been doing this 20, 30 years, but I want to update my business and really get to the next level. So, in terms of how we really think about that, you have people from everywhere that are trying to scale and eventually, make a sale. Two people that, you know, really just want to be able to provide for themselves, their family, and their community. And we try to take a very measured approach to each of those things, like without trying to impose our wants and needs on what they want. When we talk about a lot of small businesses, it is just in terms of definition, they want to say like up to $5 million in revenue, and that's just not realistic for most of the small businesses that we work with. So we try to really cater to more of these micro businesses that are actually in the community, things that you can see, you can touch, you can walk down the street and visit these businesses. And these are businesses in your community, that's why you want to invest in them. So we do a lot of work in terms of also cooperative development. So what does it look like for, I want to say a big statistics that's come out of Atlanta this year was that 96% of small businesses have 0 to 1 employees, which means that not only can they not hire some help, but they a lot of times can't even pay themselves. So what does it look like to really, you know, build out a structure that people can actually plug into? To have something like a cooperative back office where everyone pays a set fee and have access to things like lawyers, accountants, technology, and space, all of which are, you know, very necessary for small businesses, and how do you really just plug into this community in a seamless type of way. So we do a lot, we touch a lot of ends. And also just, you know, addressing like events, like how does it look to come together in a way that, you know, sometimes you do need this space where you can come together with friends, and it's not necessarily an event like this, but somewhere where you can share, you know, community with people with like minds, and, you know, maybe just enjoy a drink or enjoy some food or enjoy some art. Answer the question.
Yeah, no, that was great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I think, you know, some of the points that you touched on there is, you know, it's the strength in building businesses. And oftentimes, like as a small business owner, you don't know the do's and don'ts. If you haven't had it taught to you, so it's helping you to kind of create that community that allows you to skip the mistakes. And something else you said there that is an important part of the program, being able to share resources. You know, you oftentimes as a small business owner don't have this back office of like 5 little L's working for you. So how can you share resources, and that just allows you to like move forward towards success a little bit more. Cicely, I'll ask you a question as well, because you kind of touch on the broad spectrum of the companies that we will help. But can you talk about making those connections to markets and as well, and how that helps to successfully launch businesses in Atlanta?
Yeah, so you have a lot of business owners who have a really great product and offering that no one's going to ever hear or see about. And so we didn't get into this situation of the wealth gap overnight, and so it's going to take some really intentional and poignant moves to move that. And a lot of those things have to do with procurement and how is it you get past that hurdle so that your proposal even gets seen, to see the service offerings that they even have before them. Like she mentioned, doing like TED Talks and getting in front of the right people who could really take what you have to the next level. And then just also access and helping to think about what other broader market is out there and available. And then helping those on the other side rethink how it is that they procure the services that are being provided for them. There are lots of really great small to mid-sized businesses that they could also help build into their supply chain and not just going the same routes. And so we hope to make those connections and do that work while the entrepreneurs are doing the work that they are doing, building themselves and building out the businesses to put their best foot forward. We'd like to have a place for that to land.
And I think that is such a key point, and I appreciate that. You know, we've had a lot of good examples as well at Tech Square Labs. We have a startup battle, and one of our winners was a 23-year-old grad, female out of Georgia Tech, and now through, you know, participating in that program, she was also in one of our cohorts. She's now doing supply chain logistics for Georgia Pacific, one of our big companies here. So it's being able to make those linkages that can help put you in front of the right people that can just propel your business to the next level. And then let's go back to capital, because you know, I'm looking at you because that's everybody wants to know. Can you talk about some of the loans specifically that you've given? Because I just feel like this is always the question that really stops people in their tracks. Like, how am I not getting funding to do this? What am I doing wrong? And maybe just some of the success stories, and talk more about those big checks that you write.
Absolutely. There's several that come to mind, and we do a very good job of sort of documenting those stories. A lot of times, to Dante's point, somebody may come to us, have an idea, they can make widgets, but have no earthly idea how to go to that next step. So I think an important component of that is having the resources and the education up front, what we refer to as pre-technical assistance. Walk them through a business plan, walk them through financials, walk them through projections, all those types of things. I think that ACE cut their teeth on microloans, and so I think of some examples. One restaurant comes to mind where I was looking at the numbers the other day. They started out with 4 employees, 1 location. They've since grown to 5 restaurants, 150 employees, and that's just starting really at the beginning, where they came to us. Maybe the credit wasn't bank-worthy yet, but they have demonstrated with us. And the interesting thing that I find with a lot of our clients is once they've demonstrated with us, they have that opportunity to go elsewhere, and they tend to kind of come back. I have another example of an individual that runs a video media company. And I refer to her often internally as our biggest raving fan. And when she first came to us, it was a turn down. We couldn't help her. But the first thing that we do, our lending team is known, is to send to our business advisory team and to get the resources and get the necessary tools needed to get that launched. Subsequently, she was able to get a loan. She's grown that business. The first loan she got, as a matter of fact, saved her several $1,000s a month. It was amazing. She was in what I refer to as a well-stripping product type loan, but it was a necessary evil at the time, but we were able to take her out of that. And so anywhere I go, she may even be in the room today, but wherever I go, she will drag people to me and insist that they meet ACE and get to know ACE and avail themselves of our resources and our tools.
Oh, that's a great example, because if you listen to the story, it started with a no. And entrepreneurship often starts with a no, but they persisted, they came back, and they educated themselves to get to where they needed to be. And let me tell you, it often starts with many, many no's before you can get to where you are. But I appreciate, all of that, all those pieces that come together. And I think at the foundation of this for a lot of our entrepreneurs is education. Like, they are going through, Dante has his own program, Morehouse and Tech Square Labs have their own program of 6 weeks of really intense education to prepare them for the business world. Tiffany, I will kick it back to you right now. I just want to talk a little bit more about, Morehouse, because I feel like you guys have really been, along with JP, the backbone to this. Do you have anything else you'd like to add, especially in terms of educating, strong Black men in our community here? You guys have really been a pillar, so we appreciate that.
This has been a great, what I would say, compliment to some of the other programs that we're doing. If you don't have the companies, it starts with creating that pipeline. So I see the focus of our students in entrepreneurship of creating that pipeline, introducing them exposure to somebody grow up and have a wonderful tech company. We happen to focus on tech, but tech is not all that we do. We do know that tech disrupts very quickly in terms of getting us and closing that wealth gap. It is perhaps the way to go, but that doesn't mean that other businesses are not important. And that's why I'm very happy with the portfolio approach that we're now taking with Ascend 2.0, everywhere from tech to everything else. And I think that this is where we'll see this exponential impact of what we're trying to achieve here in terms of economic growth. So we are very excited about that, from startup to small company. And there is a difference in terms of when we do speak about startups and small companies. So yes.
It's perfect. I'll end on this. I just in honor of Robert Smith and President Thomas, it was funny, I was doing an interview, and the woman said, well, what a great, wonderful gift, $40 million, to Morehouse College. And she followed up by saying, well, it's not like we'll probably see that happen ever again. And I paused and I said, why not? And I said, that is exactly what that gift is doing. It is providing the legacy and breaking barriers so that we can have way more of those $40 million gifts, because Robert Smith was an academic and he built all that himself. And so I feel just inspired by that, because we can do that again and again and again. And that's what programs like this are creating. Like, these aren't barriers that are just so, far out of our reach. So we are lowering the ceiling, we're doing amazing things. Thank you all for coming out. We will start recruitment for our next cohorts in the next couple of months. Please stay tuned. And if you have any further questions, we will have a secondary kickoff for companies that are looking to apply. So technology companies, small to mid-sized businesses, and micro businesses as well. So thank you guys very much, and we will kick this off to our fireside panel. So happy to have you all here.